What's up, everybody? Welcome to Getting Stoked. I am your host, Matthew Slusser. I think I'm going to start saying that at the top of the show now. I feel like someone gave me that as a critique a while back. Like, I don't know, you should say your name. Like, I don't understand why you don't say your name. And then I started thinking about it more, and I feel like pretty much everybody does, and I don't. And I don't necessarily want to stick out and be some kind of anti-conformist by any means, just for the sake of doing so. This is one of those things that I feel like I'm not doing because I'm fucking up, not because I'm cool in some way. So I think I'm going to start doing that. So welcome to Getting Stoked with Matthew Slusser, or should it be Matt Slusser? I don't know. This is a weird gray area, guys. Vote, hit me up. Let's figure this out together as a community, because as you all know, we are a community. We are a cult here. Please join me for refreshments. Let's get on to the episode. Dani Cutler is on the show this week, and you may know her as the voice and, as far as I'm concerned, the person in charge of KWSS 93.9, and she's been she's music scene mom. She has been for a long time, and she's a businesswoman, she's an entrepreneur, and she's great. So please listen up and enjoy Dani Cutler. Let's do it. So, hi, welcome. Hi, Dani.
Hello.
Thank you for coming on to the show. This is wild.
Why is it wild?
It's because, I don't know, it's because you're a wild and crazy person.
It's more wild for me because, like I said when I walked in, I'm on the opposite end.
Yeah.
Like, you're asking the questions, and I'm like, what the fuck? And I can say fuck.
Yeah, you can. You can. It's really wonderful.
I can't do that on the radio.
I was... So, actually, this is, I don't know if you need to turn your volume down at all. I'm turning mine down a little bit. If I think
you sound fine. You're not blasting me out or nothing.
Cool. So, before I hit record, you started talking a little bit about how you got your start in radio through podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
And what this was, you said 11 years ago?
Well, podcasting was a little earlier than that.
Oh, wow.
That was 2006.
So what podcasts were even around in 2006?
So
like the Ricky Gervais show?
Yeah, there were those shows, and what's his name from MTV? Adam
Carolla.
Yes.
Yeah.
Adam Curry too.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, he was an MTV VJ
Yeah.
back when MTV did that stuff.
Yeah.
And he started like the whole podcasting movement in like 2004, 2005. And from there, I just sort of started listening. I was like, what is this newfangled thing? And at the same time, I was running a political board on some obscure website called Rise, R-Y-Z-E. I don't even think it's around anymore, to be honest, because that was like pre-Facebook, pre-everything. And I actually was there for a business I was doing, and I started getting into politics, and I started reading about politics and wanting to talk about it. So from there, I was like, podcasting started, people were posting their shows, and I started listening, and a lot of them were really bad.
Yeah.
And we're talking the first, I mean, we didn't have the tech and the simplicity of putting a podcast together then that we do now. But I was still like, I can do this. I can do this. So I was like, screw it. I have a lot I want to say. Podcasting will give me that voice to say it. And I started a political podcast.
So this was 2006, you said?
I started it was like March of 2006.
Got it. So you're in the thick of the Bush regime.
And that is the reason that I started getting political. It was the war with Iraq, which started on my 10th wedding anniversary, March 20th, 1993. It was, 2003. It was my 10th anniversary. And, it pissed me off.
Yeah, I can see. That's crazy, man.
And that was, now when you look back, it doesn't seem quite as bad as what we're going through now.
No.
But then it was pretty bad.
I mean, Bush at least understood the weight of the position in which he held. Yeah. Or he at least had some kind of reverence for the position.
Well, and he knew politics.
Yeah.
He was a politician. He knew the game. He knew how to behave in public. a current president doesn't know what the fuck he's doing.
Or he just, or that's his thing.
It must be.
I think it's just his thing.
But so, it pissed me off. I'm like one of the only liberals in Gilbert. So, and it was the way I could express myself because I couldn't talk to anybody in my town, right? So, and I had young children at the time. And,
Yeah.
It was that at that time it was a little bit of the bored housewife thing. I'll admit it.
Yeah.
I'll admit it. I was home raising babies. And,
that's fine.
And I had shit I had to say.
Yeah.
And how old were they then? My 3 and 6 year old didn't give a shit. So
Yeah, you can't really talk to them about foreign policy.
No, not really. I could talk to my younger one now. She just turned 18 and she's my little pinko liberal. She's crazy.
Yeah.
I love her so much. But I figured out how. I found the tools online that I needed, downloaded what I need. I found literally a $12 headset with a mic attached, like one of those little office ones. I mean, it was so cheap. And I wrote out some show notes, what I wanted to say, and Truth Seekers began. That's how I started it.
That was called Truth Seekers?
I called it Truth Seekers, yeah.
Got it.
And that went on for probably, it overlapped when I started with radio. And what got me into radio was I wanted to syndicate the show. I was like, it was doing well. I had, not like thousands of listeners, but I had a couple hundred per episode. And I was like, oh, this is cool. And a friend of mine doing a podcast at the same time was syndicating his on an independent station called KWSS. And so I hit him up and I said, hey, I would love to get into radio. And he hooked me up with the station manager there. And so I sent him a sample of my show. And he said, well, we don't have any room for any talk shows, but we really like your voice. Do you want to do some voice tracking? And I was like, oh, well, what's that? Because everything I did was self-taught. And so I said, what's that? And he goes, you basically just record your voice tracks around the music that we play. It's just DJing, but you record in advance. Uh-huh. And I started on the midnight shift doing that, which wasn't midnight because it was like 9 o'clock at night when I recorded it. And it rolled out from midnight to 6.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's the little insider trick for you there. So from there, that's how radio started. And I found out I absolutely loved it. And even though it sounds weird that why would you just love, doing this talking and there's just music playing? But there was just something about it that I was like, oh, even from midnight to 6, people are listening to me.
Yes, they are.
People are out there. I would get emails, this and that. And there was one night, because so that was like 2006, and then we got to the 2008 election, and it was the first time I went live during election night and gave results in. And,
that's cool.
And did that kind of stuff. So that was really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So in 2007, early 2007, KQCX merged with KWSS. And they asked me if I wanted to move over with them and start the middays 10 to 2. And I said, sure, it's a better time slot, better reach. KWSS had a bigger reach in the Valley, even though it's a low-power FM station. So I said, sure. And that's where I was until just this past. Wow, March is just an interesting month for me because it was March of this year that I went to full mornings.
Really?
Yeah.
Dude, this year's been flying.
It's crazy.
For me.
How is it almost September?
It's fucking ridiculous.
I don't know.
It's ridiculous.
I blink and like another month goes by and yeah, it's nuts.
It really is crazy. This last year has been nuts.
So that was that's the short version of how I got into radio.
That's interesting. Just through being fired up.
I have always self-taught myself what I needed. I don't have. I'm college dropout. I was at ASU on a music scholarship. I grew up with classical music. Played viola all through elementary, junior high, high school, music scholarship, then decided I didn't want to do it anymore.
Got it.
And, it's fine. It worked out just fine. But I always found my own way.
I've heard that about music when you go to college for music. I know a lot of people who went to college for music who just got it burned out of them. They just didn't want to do it anymore. What
ruined it for me, and it did ruin it for me, was I really enjoyed playing. I loved playing. I loved being there. Very expressive for me. And on a personal level, it really saved my life in a lot of ways. And I don't mind talking about that too. Yeah. I know that you like to touch in on self-care and things like that. You got your sponsor and everything. So if you want to touch on that, I'm totally willing to chat about that.
Get there.
But Well, and then when I got to college, I decided to be a music therapy major because I really loved, what music did for me and how personal that was. And I wanted to learn more about it. And what I didn't realize is when I got into it, I had to basically do all of the music major classes. So I had to take theory and I had to take piano and I had to, all the things that I didn't know and really didn't want to know. And it just went downhill from there. And so, I stopped and I put the viola away and I just focused on, starting my life with my husband. I got married real young.
Yeah.
I couldn't even legally drink at my wedding.
Really?
I was just a month shy of
Wow.
21. Yeah. So, but that's all right because we just celebrated 25 years.
That's
so.
crazy. That is so crazy.
I've been married longer than you've been alive, dude.
Yeah, it's. I was born in '93.
Oh, okay. I got
so-
married in 93.
Yep, 93. August of
Wow.
'93 is when I happened.
There you go. You'll always remember my wedding anniversary.
I will. That'll be really easy.
So yeah, I've always just decided that this is what I want to do now, and I'm gonna figure it out, and I did. Everything from I worked as a legal secretary for a while. I cashiered at Fry's grocery store for many years. I started a card making business, which was how I got into the podcasting thing, just through that. That's why I was on that weird website. And then I don't know, just from being on the radio and helping with their marketing and promotions, and then Facebook started becoming a bigger thing and Twitter was out there, I learned how to market online and I started my own business.
Do you ever get? Do you ever have a chance to? Do you have any like a political outlet today? Is that something that you're still interested in?
I'm still very interested in it. The podcast, as they say, pod faded because I just got too busy with my business and the radio, and the kids were getting older, and and it just kind of faded out, and that's fine. I also got a little burned out on it because I was so invested in it. I wouldn't just write an outline for a show. I would write out exactly what I wanted to say because the point of my podcast was I wanted to know what everybody thought about a topic, whether they were conservative or liberal. I didn't care. I wanted to know what other people thought.
That's so important.
I wanted to be as balanced as I could and not just be forcing my beliefs down other people's throats. So I had a lot of conservative listeners on my show, and they really, the biggest compliment I got was that they appreciated that I took that approach, even though I told everybody what I thought. I was like, I would say, I think you're crazy, but this is what everyone else is saying, and what do you think about this?
Yeah.
I would still say what I thought. But they appreciated that I wasn't saying, you're a complete idiot for this kind of stuff.
We need more of that.
Yeah.
Especially today. And it's something that's been infuriating me lately about the left, specifically university students. It's just this, like, if you don't agree with me, then you are an aggressor, or you're the enemy, or you're victimizing me in some way.
Yeah.
And we need that discourse. Like, we need that.
Sometimes I get more angry at liberals that I agree with on issues.
Yeah, I do
because I'm just like, calm down.
I've moved away from because honestly, as of late, the left has been bothering me far more than the right has, because I feel like the right's just always been doing the same shit.
Yeah,
but
they haven't changed.
But the left seems to be getting very. When I say the left, I don't mean liberals. I mean like your leftists, I guess, a little farther over. It's getting very radical. It's getting very aggressive. It's getting very it's becoming a power game. It almost seems like.
And we've lost communication because of it.
Yes.
Nobody wants to listen to everybody, and social media has not helped.
No.
Because the second you post something, you're just like, this is exactly it, and. I don't even comment on political posts anymore because I'm terrified to, or post a lot of politics. I really don't think my show, if I started up Truth Seekers again, I don't think it would work in this climate. I think it would be really difficult to have that discourse from both sides.
It could.
And I don't know. I don't have time to start it. But,
no, of course.
But, I often think about that. Like, how would what I was doing 10 years ago work now?
I mean, that could be what people need.
Maybe
like a lot of there's a few podcasts that I listen to that are pretty good about showcasing both sides. Rogan used to be that way. He's starting to get a little bit more to the right now, but he still tries to have both sides on. Dave Rubin's another good one. He gets a lot of... Because Dave Rubin, do you know Dave Rubin?
I don't.
Dave Rubin's an interesting guy. He's one of my favorite thinkers at the moment, my favorite voices. He used to be on the Young Turks.
Oh, okay.
So he used to be on the Young Turks, and then he left the Young Turks because he started to get disenfranchised with that slant, I guess.
Yeah. And they do have a very left slant.
Oh, yeah. But you know what I like about the Young Turks?
Which is good.
What I like about the Young Turks is that they don't hide that.
Right.
It's not like CNN tries to play middle, but they're super left.
Oh, yeah.
And I like that the Young Turks are just like, this is what we are. Like, it's like the same thing with Fox News. Like, Fox News doesn't think they're fucking centrist. They know that they're right.
Right.
So I appreciate that they have the identity correct there.
Yeah. But Young Turks is the type of show that can do that.
Yeah.
CNN... they have to try and remain more neutral. And Fox, I don't even know.
Yeah. So Rubin left Young Turks and established himself as a classical liberal, which is what I would consider myself.
Okay.
Which is like, for those who don't know, a classical liberal, it's just brand new. I've never, ever identified as anything. I've always been very against identity stuff and identity politics of any sort. I've always been very, very not into that stuff. But when I discovered what a classical liberal is, I got really excited because it's basically a libertarian, except you believe that the government does have some function. Like the libertarian is like very little to no government whatsoever, whereas the classical liberal is like, no, I think these things are good. These things we should keep doing. We need to have some government stuff.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's all individual rights.
Well, it's chaos.
Exactly.
You know, it's chaos. You need a government.
Yeah, you do.
And everyone who says they're so anti-government, I often think that it's not so much you don't want government, you just don't want that government.
Yes.
You just want to run something your way. It's still government.
Well, it's like when I'll see people online who are anti-government, but they're socialists, and I'm like,
yeah.
Well, wait, what? Hold on. You can't be. Yeah, it goes exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's you're anti this or one specific idea of government. But I like talking to people of all different. Who are all over the spectrum. It's so important. You need to have conversations.
Yes.
Like, it's important if someone tells you that you're a Trump, if someone tells you that they're a Trump supporter, instead of immediately identifying them with all of the negative traits of a Trump supporter and having that be their new identity, you need to be like, okay, why? Well, maybe he has certain things fiscally that you might agree with, or certain there's a lot of people who, and I'm not like an apologist for Trump whatsoever, but there's plenty of people who voted for Trump who like don't like him, but there's certain things about certain policies that work for them personally, and that's what it's all about.
And honestly, so many people are just a one or two issue voter.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm pro-life, so I'm going to vote Republican no matter what, or I'm pro-choice, so I'm going to vote liberal, no matter what. But I think we're going to see a shift. I think there's going to be a shift, especially with all the education stuff going around, especially in Arizona. So
I wonder if we're going to snap back and have some really, really, really extreme left guy up next, because I can't imagine having another. The only way that we could have another Republican after Trump, and some people think he's going to get elected again, which I could see that happening.
I can see it too,
but
I don't want it, but I can see
either.
it.
But post Trump, I can't see us electing another Republican. I think people are, because this is the wake up call that people needed. Like, no one went out and voted.
Rock bottom, anybody?
Yeah, exactly. No one went out and voted. Everyone just assumed that everything was going to be fine. There's no way he's going to get in. Like, everyone's
I don't think he even knew he was going to make it.
Yeah, but his he lost the popular vote regardless. But the people that he skewers towards are voters. They're people who go out and vote. Unlike a lot of the people who are on the Democratic side of things, who are just kind of like don't really go. Younger people aren't really going out and voting, but I think now they are.
I know now they're like, oh shit, I better go vote. Oh my god. But so this is the reason that I also think my radio show is important, because I don't really talk a lot of politics.
Yeah,
and I think people are just drained by it all.
I didn't mean to bring you into the politics.
Oh no, you know what? It's been so long since I've had a political discussion. I'm like, yes, let's do this. More beer.
Yeah, no, I'm sure I've been annoying the listener.
Everyone's rolling their eyes right now.
It's just because it's just these last few episodes. I've been going through a political awakening of sorts.
That's okay.
I haven't been interested in politics in a long time, but certain things that I'm very passionate about are starting to kind of come up, and so I'm just getting really passionate about it.
I didn't have a political awakening till I was almost 35.
Really?
So I was a late bloomer. I started my podcast, and that was during the whole political thing. It took Bush. It took W to get me to go, holy shit, I need to say something.
Yeah.
And, I think a lot of people are feeling that way with Trump.
I guarantee you they are.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good political art is coming and has been for a while.
I think it's an exciting time. I actually feel more excited than terrified.
Me too.
So right on, dude.
Yeah, no, me too. But like, I guess the things that I'm really passionate about are less political and more social, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really pay attention to what's going on in the cabinet or Trump or anything like that. That is one thing that I'm a little bit just like, that's way too far. There's nothing that I can do about this. Like, people with bigger voices than mine are dealing with this in a better way than I can. This isn't, because it's one of those things where if everyone's passionate about at least one thing, but they focus on that one thing really hard, then you'll eventually be able to push the barrel over or whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You'll be able to have momentum behind it. So the ideas that I focus on are censorship and freedom of speech, which isn't surprising coming from a guy with a podcast, but those are the things that I'm very passionate about.
Well, that's okay, because you don't have to be censored here. With the music you do.
Yeah.
But you can say the evil
bit.
7 words, those,
Little bit. Yeah.
I can't say those words.
I know you can't. Yeah. That guy though is responsible for everything. George Carlin that guy changed my life. Yeah. I have never been the same person since first discovering him, and I never will be. He just he's
amazing.
Blew so many pieces of my brain awake for the first time. I was like 14 and I heard him, and I found out about him just before he died.
Yeah.
I was like 14 or 15 when I discovered him, and then he died like a few months later. But I was just like, oh, fuck, this is so amazing. And that just opened up this rabbit hole I went down, and I got into so many other people who were in the same kind of camp, people like Bill Hicks and all kinds of just revolutionary.
Nice.
Even I tried some Lenny Bruce too, but he's just too old. Political comedy doesn't hold after like 30 years or so, 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
And Lenny Bruce was doing stuff in the 60s. So listening to his political commentary in like 2010 or whatever it was, I was like, okay,
this doesn't make any sense.
I don't know what is happening. Like, I don't know what this is.
But I tell you, George Carlin, and the other facet to that is that so few are good at political commentary and comedy. And George Carlin could nail it. Like, did you ever watch his opening to SNL? I've seen it all. Yeah. Boom.
Yeah.
He just hit it on the head.
He was obsessive. He would sit and I actually heard the story the other day on a podcast. I don't remember who was on the show. It was someone I was listening to on Joe Rogan. They were talking about how they saw George Carlin before he went out on stage one night, and he would just sit in front of the mirror and do his entire bit like 3 times as fast to himself, just muttering and look in the mirror. And he would do that before he went on stage. That's why when he hits, he doesn't stop. He literally just blows through it for an hour and doesn't stop. And he has it all. Every single beat is memorized.
Wow, that's why I prep for my show.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding. It's really not. Usually, I just roll out of bed and walk downstairs and start.
That's so cool. I didn't even know that it was at your house until I met with you at Buckhow.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? I know.
I had no. I don't know. So let's talk about that for a hot second. Like, when you got involved with KWSS, was that still as it is today, like a from home kind of venture, or was that?
It is.
Not?
So what's really funny, though, is that when I started at KWSS, I thought it was like, oh, I go to the studio every day and I do my show, like normal radio stuff. And no. So there is an actual studio and station hub, which the owner, he has it up it's his condo, up in North Scottsdale. And that's where everything is. All the equipment, everything streaming, you name it, it's there. And of course, he's got it set up so that you could go there. He's got the mics, he's got, set up, everything set up. But the cool thing about KWSS is all of our DJs, they all broadcast from home. And the nice thing is, and the little insider secret is that because we are all volunteers, so we're a nonprofit station, total 501c3 thing, we're non-commercial, independent, can do whatever the fuck we want, pretty much,
Yeah.
that the FCC allows.
Yeah.
You know, and all of us have day jobs because we can't volunteer the kind of time we do. And, you know, we just can't do it, you know, without a salary. So we all have day jobs, and the ease of being able to record at home, and it's basically just like podcasting.
Yeah.
You know, you record it in advance. The difference is we upload it to the server. It rolls out when it's supposed to roll out. So, like, for instance, our afternoon guy has an 8 to 5 job, but he's on the air every day from 2 to 7. So he preps the show the night before, which is totally great. It's fine. You know, it still has the live feel. You know, we still do ticket giveaways. We do all that stuff. We have wonderful, thank you, technology, because we can still do ticket giveaways, and he can be at work and he can handle ticket giveaways and things like that. So, you know, it all works out well. What's nice for me is my day job is my own marketing business. And so I work from home.
Nice.
I'm there all the time. I make my own hours. I'm all flexible. That's why I can have guests in the studio. And so I can run my show how I want to run it, which is really great. I don't have to have weekly meetings on what I'm going to do, this and that. That's all me. I send out the weekly email to all the DJs. Here's all the giveaways we're doing, this and that. And I literally I get up and I do my show. And now that I'm mornings, I'm a little more live. So there's only maybe a 10-minute delay in what I'm doing. Because from 6 to 10 a.m., I'm not even like working my own job yet until later in the morning. So it works out just fine. So I can interact with the listeners a little more and be a little more live and do some phone calls and things like that. So
that's crazy.
It's nice.
What's the marketing gig?
So I started a digital marketing, social media management business back in 2013.
Okay.
No, 2012. Yeah, because I'm celebrating 6 years of business next month.
Nice.
So yeah, in September it'll be 6 years.
2012. So that predates Instagram, right? Maybe.
Yeah,
Ish,
like
somewhere
right
around
there at the beginning.
I don't think I got Instagram until 2013 or 14 or so.
Yeah. So I started the business because, well, I realized that I had a knack for it. You know, I'm a very social person, hence why I'm on the radio.
Yeah.
I like being social, and social media was booming at that point. And doing promotions in social media for the station helped me. And I started consulting with some friends who were doing businesses. And finally, a friend of mine wanted to hire me as her manager, but she couldn't afford me. So she said, you know what? You should start your own business and bring me on as a client. And I was like, all right, why the fuck not? Let's just do it. So I did, and there we go.
What's it called? What is it?
It's very complicated name. It's Dani Cutler Content Creation.
Ah, okay, got it.
It's very difficult, yeah. So I mean, I tried to, and it's interesting because I tried to come up with a name. I spent hours on Google and trademarks and things like that. Like, has this been used? Has this been used?
Yeah.
Trying to think of some creative name. You know, probably you do that for the podcast, right?
I got lucky with the podcast.
That's good.
I was actually in the bathroom and I was like, this used to be our bedroom.
Yeah.
And like Licia was sitting here in bed, and I was doing something back there, and I was just like, what do you like more, get stoked or getting stoked? And she's like, getting stoked. And I was like, okay. And it hadn't been taken anywhere.
Yeah,
I was so lucky.
That's great. So what happened with me is that,
but I have had to do that before.
Yeah, I mean, I just sit there and it's like, okay, if I'm going to take this seriously, I need a name, this and that. And it was just finally, you know what? I have always just been my own brand. It's always been Dani Cutler, radio stuff, whatever. I've always just been me. What you see is what you get.
Totally.
I've never been like the person who's like, you know, I act this way and then this way another thing. I just, you know, and most people tell me that, you know, I might be a little more quiet when I'm out, but I don't know.
But that natural talent, that's good. I mean, Mo is like that too. I mean, I try to be that way as well.
Dear God, she is my idol. Seriously, I want to be as cool as Mo, and I'm not.
She's great.
I love her to death. I was texting her today because today I was listening to that episode.
Yeah,
and I was texting her and I was like, "You're making me cry!" Like the first 5 minutes. I'm like, "Stop it!" And it was like, she's so awesome.
She got me smoking weed again. She brought me over a gift. She like brought this big nug over for me just for I don't know. I think she must.
All I brought you was a T-shirt.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
No, that was great. And she brought it over, and I didn't even have anything to smoke it with at the time. So like, I went out and bought everything I needed for it after the podcast or whatever.
I
and
love it.
Like, all right, well, And then I've been buying it ever since. So thanks for that, Mo.
Mo, look at you, girl.
Yeah, she's a good influence.
She's a great influence. That's hilarious.
No, people love that episode though. That was a really fun one.
It was really informative too, and you know, I listened to that and I listened to Psycho Steve. I mean, those are two. I wanted to listen to the quote industry episodes because I was like, so what do they talk about?
Yeah, the industry ones.
So
Steve's great.
Oh, I love him. I had him on the show. It was
he was just giving me shit for losing that episode.
That was
the
so
entire
funny.
Time.
He's like, that last time we talked about it,
it was way better. Well, and then after the podcast was over, as soon as I hit end, he takes his headphones off and goes, "You're gonna lose that one too?" I was like, "Thanks, Steve."
He's so funny. I love
really
him.
He's
and
great.
The one thing that both of them really underscored was just how great this community is.
Mm-hmm.
I love this local community. That's why I've been doing this as long as I have, for no money.
Yeah, that's great.
Well, I probably made in 11 years. I might have made a couple grand.
Yeah,
maybe
a couple years.
In 11 years.
11 years. It'll
be 12 years in March. Oh my gosh! But no, it is a great community, and I love that I have the freedom and flexibility that I do to be able to help support it. I mean, KWSS does that regardless. I mean, because we're independent, we're able to play more local music, more independent artists, along with mainstream stuff. And I think we have found a really good mix to where, because people need things that they recognize to keep listening.
Yes.
You can't just there are some internet radio stations and things like that will only play local music. And that's great. It's wonderful. But it's really hard to get new people to listen to new music all the time.
Yes.
And bands
definitely.
that they don't know. And so you have to throw in the familiar things. So that's why while we play that and we're able to play independent artists and local artists, which of course are also independent artists, we can still throw in the stuff that people will recognize and the new music. So we'll play the things. I like to say that we play what Alt AZ can play and more.
Got it. Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. So one of the questions that I have is, so you're a nonprofit. So how do you guys secure time?
So the reason we're a nonprofit is we are supporting not just local music, but arts and entertainment in general, and also local small business. Okay. So we run the same way that, say, NPR does. So we have sponsors who come in and so we can't do advertising. So when you hear our spots on the radio, which only play 2 minutes every hour because we're non-commercial. Awesome. The spots aren't head down and buy this car. It's this is brought to you by
Definitely.
And it'll be HQ Vape and Smoke. That. So they're one of our sponsors. Hamster Labs is one of our sponsors, and so they support us, and we're able to support small business by promoting them.
That's so cool. That's my big thing. That's what I want to do. I want to get sponsors with local businesses.
Yeah,
I would love that.
What's nice is that our demographic fits that perfectly because we have a little bit older demographics. So it's basically 25 to 55 is our big demographic. They're making money. They're more established. They might have families. So they're able to, and they're really invested in the local scene, everything local, from business to music, whatever. They know it, they love it, they're loyal. And so to be able to support those small businesses, they're actually reaching the people who would be most likely to use their services.
That's so
cool. Where you get an 18-year-old who's like, oh, I'm just going to go to Subway, you'll get the 25, 30-year-old is like, oh, I'm going to try this mom and pop sandwich shop.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's kind of the difference there.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and we love being able to do that. And we're always looking for more sponsors, by the way. Plug.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's so cool.
So it's nice to be able to do that. And we're also able to support local shows as well. And it's the same thing. You're sponsoring us by paying for promotion, and we do the spot for your show. It airs. We have a package where, you choose your tier that you want and all of that. And so the spot runs, we do the live mentions, this and that, and they get to write it off. Everything's a write-off because we're a nonprofit. So that's we're able to, cool. It's it's this big circle of helping each other. You're helping us stay on the air by paying us, and we're helping you and promoting your business or your show or whatever. So
got it.
Yeah, it's really wonderful.
What were some of the bands that you first encountered when you first got started doing local, when you really started getting into the local Niche, yeah.
Scene, niche, that local thing. So it's kind of funny because although I've been with KWSS for 11 years, it's only in the past like 3 to 4 that I really started digging in deep to the local scene. And a lot of that was just time. It was time. It was, again, my kids were young. I was raising them. I had time to do my show, and that was kind of it. And it was probably like a year before the last morning guy, Beef Vegan, left that I really started going out to shows and this and that. And I can't remember who I really encountered first, but I do remember one of the first local shows I went to, and it was Haley Green, who
is coming on the show very soon.
Yes, you were gonna have a blast.
I've never
with
met
her. Oh my God.
I just remember Ruka.
Yeah.
And that was my introduction to her.
Yeah.
She put out that Ruka album around the time that Phantom Party was putting out music and really getting started. And I think we shared. I think someone wrote a review of both of us, and I think Mitchell Hillman did a review of both of our albums in the same publication. Or the same article.
I remember reading that.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. And so that's how I found her.
Yeah,
and I've just kind of been following her ever since. And she hustles like crazy, and I see that.
Shit.
And
She is such a hard worker. You're gonna have so much fun with her. So
wait.
she was one of the first people I encountered. Went out to her show, had a blast, danced my ass off. It was just a wonderful night, and from there I just started going to shows and meeting people and making that FaceTime because you have to actually, it's funny because I have these your past podcasts in my head, and, you have to get yourself out there.
Yeah.
And they were, Psycho Steve was talking about bands having to get out there. Well, it's same for radio.
Yeah.
If you don't get out there, nobody's going to know who you are or what you're doing. And so, I often say my work shirt is my KWSS shirt because I'm always out there in it. I don't think anybody knows I have other clothes. Seriously. It's just jeans and my KWSS shirt. But it's worked. And then when Beef left to go down to Tucson, he was like, hey, do you want to take over all the shit I do? And I was like, well, okay. And by then I was already going to shows more. People were recognizing me more. And so it was a fairly smooth transition. And I was still doing middays for a while. And this was back in 2016 is when he left. Actually, 2 years to the day, because it was the end of August. It was Labor Day weekend when he signed off. We had a big party at, he called it a tequila sunrise out at Stinger's Bar in Glendale. And we all got really drunk that morning.
Nice.
Yeah, it was great. I think. I think it was great. So it just kind of transitioned, and people they had already known who I was. So they knew that they could reach out to me and I would help them with what they needed to, what they wanted to do. And I just became that contact.
Yeah.
So it worked out really well. And so definitely from 2016 on, I've been handling pretty much all of the daily operations of the station and handling the interviews and helping with the shows, things like that. Yeah,
I'm so bad about going to shows. I need to go out to shows more. I just went out to one at Pub Rock, and that was fun. But I knew
it's
3
hard.
out of the 4 bands who were playing.
Well,
and I end up
get
not
it.
going.
I get it. And
I hate it.
It's hard. And honestly, it all just worked out time-wise for me because, again, raising the kids. I know I don't sound as old as I am, you guys. But I mean, my kids were getting, now they're 18 and 21. So, they're adults now. They're off doing their own things. And a couple years ago, still in high school or whatever, but I'm sure as soon as you got like a driver's license, were you ever home?
Yeah, for sure.
It's like, so I had more freedom, and I would, I was like, oh, okay, so I can get out there more and go to some shows. And I realized that you had to do it. And then once I really took over, it was like, okay, I made a pact with myself. It was actually a New Year's resolution. I was going once a month, I'm going to go to one show. That's
an attainable goal.
It was. And then there was one month I was like, I went to 6 shows this month.
That's
Holy
amazing.
shit. It's amazing, but it's exhausting. It is.
Yeah,
and it's hard. I had to learn balance because as much as I wanted people to know the station and recognize, I really tried to, and I still try to get the other DJs to get out there and go, we're a small outfit. We have the station owner, me. We have Jay Cairo, who's the afternoon DJ. We have Alicia Torres, who's on the weekends, and Brian DeFox, who's on the weekend. That's it. Other than our other programming shows, like there's Dubs with Dubs Private Reserve. He does the vinyl show on Thursday nights. Yes. And, we have a bunch of other programming because we're a non-commercial station. We have, I think it's some sort of, I don't know the exact term, but it's an educational license. So we have educational programming. Educational. Like literally one of our shows is from Italy and it's Italian music for an entire hour on Sunday mornings, and it's classified as educational.
Interesting.
I
wonder how that feels like to know that your culture's music has been written off in another country as educational.
It's educational. Yeah. So, but
the C-SPAN of music.
Yeah, but the hub of the station, that's it. There's the 4 DJs and the station owner. And and so getting out there, I try and get the other DJs. I'm like, nobody's going to know who you are or about your show. And, people have come up to me all the time and be like, so do you own the station? Is it your station?
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, thank God, because I don't want to do the books.
Yeah.
I just want to have fun.
Yeah. You're the only one that I ever knew. I think the first time I ever saw you, in person was at the Yab Yum Award show, for which we have the posters for right there.
That was fun.
Yeah, that was a really good time. That was the first time that I ever saw you in person.
I still crack up at how they have to throw the sheet over Jesus.
That was awesome.
And it looks like
hilarious.
A ghost.
Yeah, it did. It was ghost. It was
ghost. I just wanted to put googly eyes on it.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Ghost zombie Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun. I understood the ideology behind that. Then we played it again and they kept everything up. It just seemed like such a pain. But yeah, man, that was a really, really, really cool show. And then I guess Carly and Mark got married there too, which is super crazy.
Yeah.
So
love them. They're a sweet couple.
They really are. They're mom and dad. They're like seeing mom and dad.
They know their shit too. Definitely. Mm-hmm. They're so
Every time I go over there, it's almost like it feels like I'm a kid and Mark's a kid and Alicia and Carly are mom, and we just like, because every time I've been over there, like Mark and I just get like really stoked about music and we start geeking out about stuff, and then they just like look at us like, ugh, fucking losers, or it's just like he and I were they were having a reading for their podcast Nocturne Nebula, and Mark and I are in the kitchen, and she has to come in. She's like, "Would you quiet down? We're doing this," and we're like, "Sorry, Mom." Like,
that's so funny.
Me and Mark are just like, "Oh, that's so cool. You have that record. I have that record too. Oh my God, that's so great."
What's funny is that I would be right there with you guys getting in trouble. Like, seriously. Like, people like to refer to me as band mom, but I'm just out there geeking out, just like everybody else. Though after I see bands perform, a part of me does want to bring them orange slices and juice boxes and make sure they're okay, But other than that,
especially when there's some bands who play around here that are just super energetic,
and it's hot up there on
and
stage.
They give it hard. Yeah, I know. That's
Yeah,
whenever we would do house shows, it would always get like, my adage was if I don't feel like throwing up after the show, that I didn't do well. I didn't do well enough. So I would always push really hard. And there's sometimes we did some house shows where you got like 60 people packed into a living room and you're all sweating on top of each other. And then I just have to go hide somewhere and just breathe. And I love that. It's great.
That's awesome.
I would have loved some oranges and juice boxes when
I
that
bet.
happened.
So do you miss it? Do you miss playing?
No, I don't. I thought that I would, but I've just been so busy doing this, and I've been enjoying this so much, and it's just me. I don't have to worry about anybody else.
Right.
Not like we were always getting into fisticuffs or anything like that, but I like having it just be me.
I get it.
And that part of it's really fun. And I mean, the thing is, even in podcasting, I still have an avenue for performance and doing stuff live and stuff. So I'm not worried about that. I'm always going to want to be on stage. I'm always going to need the approval of strangers. That's never going to happen.
We wouldn't be hosting shows if we didn't, if our ego didn't get stroked a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. So I need that. I love being in front of people. I love performing. I always just... It doesn't matter how sick I am. As soon as I get on stage, I get really happy and excited, and I really enjoy being in front of people. So I know that this is an avenue that I can take towards that. And I have gotten approached to be in bands, and I auditioned for Sundressed to tour with them on this most recent like 2 or 3 week tour that they did. But I pulled the plug on it because I was like, because we were talking about it. It looked really good. Trevor was super interested, and it was really starting to look like it was going to happen. And I just pulled it because this was starting to become too busy. It started to actually work. Like
it's
shit
hard.
started actually working. So I was like, okay, I can't take a month off to go tour with your band.
Right.
When this is finally starting to work.
Yeah. You have to be selective, especially when you have a lot of things going on. You know, I juggle a lot of things, so I really have to be very conscious of my time and how I spend it, because it's a lot of things. And, you know, people will tell me, you're everywhere, you're doing this, you're doing that. And I'm like, I am, but I don't feel real busy. You know, it's just because it's like, okay, here's another day. I do my show. I do some work. I plan my day how I want to plan it.
That's what I need to do.
I
schedule.
still, seriously, I have a schedule that I follow, and you know, it doesn't always happen, but you know, for the most part, it helps me. And it's also very important when you juggle a lot of things to take time for yourself.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I just went to New York on vacation with the family, go visit my dad, because that's where my family is. That's where I'm from. Cool. Yeah. So I was out there and I didn't do any radio stuff for 10 days, and it was wonderful. You know, it's like,
that's nice. I've done that
my favorite thing to say is, you know, that saying, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. It's bullshit. Yeah. You work hard at the things you love, and that's okay to want to take a break from it.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah.
So.
I like that stuff too. I mean, you have to take a break. You have to step back from it a little bit, and it enriches it. It makes it more enjoyable when you get back to it and things like that. And
I'm old, and I just have to like rest my back after going to shows so much.
Yeah, no, I get that.
I just gotta sit the fuck down.
Yeah, I get that. Luckily, this is a sitting down medium.
Yes, this is good. Yes, radio's good. Going to shows all the time. Yeah, it's a good thing I'm not a performer, because I'd be dying.
Yeah, no, it's I mean, it's.
Or I should say, a musician performing. I am a performer.
Yes, you are kind of.
We're all performers.
Yes, we're performers.
It's all an act, people. It's all an act.
So now, what's Casa?
Oh yeah, so Casa. Hang on, let me take a sip of this beer. Thank you so much, because Four Peaks, who should sponsor this show.
We had Santan Brewing Company on. You can't talk about Four Peaks.
Fuck.
I'm just kidding. You can talk about whatever you want.
I'm still enjoying the fact that I can say fuck.
I know, it's really nice.
Everything's going to be fuckity fuck, fuck.
All
right. So Casa. Yeah. Excuse me. Now I'm burping.
You're good.
That's okay. I heard Mo's burps and I can't compare.
Oh my God. Yeah. She's fun.
Oh man. I sent her so many texts as I was listening. I was like, girl, those corn dogs.
The corn. Yeah, we toasted corn dogs. It was like, chink.
I love it. So one of the many hats I wear is I am a volunteer. I'm a court-appointed special advocate for kids in foster care. So the reason that came about is, as we talked about earlier, how music really helped me on a personal level, is that I was a foster kid. So I went into the foster care system here in Arizona when I was 17. And I was 17 when I went into the system and pulled the whole. Yeah, it was kind of crazy. There was some serious shit going on, and
was it just a rebellious thing? You had to get removed because you were just too.
Why are you blaming me? Why the fuck are you blaming me? Like I did something wrong.
Okay. So I'll explain that. That's a really that was an oversight on my part. But
I'm just
no, I know you're kidding. But the reason that that shows me a lot about the way that I look at things now. So I before my current job, I worked for 3 years at a behavioral health facility, it was a school for behaviorally challenged special needs students.
Okay.
So at least half of my population were in foster care.
Okay.
And I've had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of students who were in foster care, and almost every single one of them.
You probably saw some shit.
Oh yeah, no, I'm physically trained and all that stuff. My job was a mixture of therapy and having to restrain a student who's trying to assault me.
Right.
That's a daily basis. It was fun though. I really enjoyed that job. But goddamn, the reason that now whenever I think of foster care, I immediately just think of
what kind of fuck up were you, Dani?
Yeah, because that's what I'm used to. 1 in 15 students of mine who were in foster care were there because of something that wasn't like something that they did or something that.
No, I get it. And honestly, what I've learned through being a CASA, and I'll explain more about CASA in a second, but what I've learned through being a CASA and just with my own experience being in the system, because when you go into the system at 17, I wasn't raised in it. I was pulled from my family because there was, without going into detail, there was abuse going on.
Okay.
And I finally went and told my teacher. It was my orchestra teacher because I was in orchestra in high school. Told my orchestra teacher, and it all went from there.
Got it.
Taken from the home,
Totally.
police report, whole thing. Oh
No,
my
I feel
gosh,
really bad about
seriously.
blaming
No. Don't even worry about it because I get it. And honestly, there are some fucked up kids in the system. Seriously.
Yeah.
But what I've learned is that, especially through being a CASA, is you're a product of your environment, and there's a reason that they're not with their families anymore.
Yeah.
There's just so many reasons.
Yeah.
It's everything from just, they could be getting hit. It can be drugs. It can be, whatever. And that's what, shapes that's their reality. That's all they know. So
Yeah,
I can totally
Trust me,
understand why you would have like so many aggressive kids and everything because they don't know anything else.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And that's where a CASA comes in.
Yeah.
Because what we do is we are basically, it's like the easiest way to describe a CASA is big brother, big sister, and then some. So we meet with the kids. We get to choose our own case. So I get a stack of cases when I'm going to choose, and I get to read through them and see if I connect with any of these children. And I take that case. We only do one case. So it's not like the caseworker that works for the state who has like 60 cases going on at once and can hardly spend time with these kids. I get one case, and that is my kid from until the case is over, whether they go back with their family, whether they're in a permanent foster home, whatever.
Got it.
And so what I do is I meet with the kid. Because I'm court appointed, I have access to all the legal documents in the case, all of their school files, psychology, whatever. And I get to figure out and give an opinion. I write a court report up. I go to court. And I get to give my thoughts and my recommendations for what should happen with the child, along with everybody else involved in the case.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's crazy. And it's a volunteer position.
You and the volunteer.
I'm fucking insane. Seriously. Will somebody pay me for something,
Fucking
please?
Jesus.
The only way I get paid is I had to start my own goddamn business.
Yeah. Damn.
And I still need more money, damn it.
Yeah. Fuck.
But anyway, but the reason I became a CASA was I've always wanted to give back because I was really lucky. I had a friend in orchestra with me who told her parents about my situation. And she told her parents, and her parents were like, oh my God, let's take her in. That almost never happens.
Yeah.
Never happens. So here I am going into my senior year of high school, pulled apart my family. I don't know what's going to happen. I might have to go to court and testify against my family member, all this kind of crazy shit. And I'm 17, so I'm fully aware. I'm not like I'm 12 and not really knowing what's going on. I know exactly all the shit that's happening, right?
Yeah.
And they're my parents. My foster parents came in and said, we will do this. We will become trained foster parents for you. And they did that. And that just doesn't happen. So all my life, I've always said...
Wow, so your friend's parents
Yeah.
became your foster parents?
They did.
That's crazy.
It is crazy. Trust me, it is crazy. And I don't even think I feel like I'm talking about somebody else.
Right.
This was back in 89.
Yeah.
So it was a while ago.
Yeah, that's the year of Appetite for Destruction.
Maybe there's something to that. I don't know.
Everything is ties into like memories of. I'm
Yeah.
really good about. Sorry, I'm really good about. I'm
it's
really,
all-
really, really good about pop culture dates.
Yeah.
Like I can tell you like any year that any movie came out, any album
I
came
love
out. So,
it.
like, it's just weird, useless thing that I have.
That's
Like,
okay. I
So that's
love
why
it.
whenever someone says a date, I immediately go like,
You're like, what was
oh,
happening?
what came out that year?
I love it. No, I love it. I love it. But so that was 89. And like I said, I don't even feel like I'm talking about myself because they're still my family to this day. Seriously. I graduated high school. I turned 18. Usually when you turn 18, it's like, okay,
Yeah.
go do what you need to do. But no, they helped me get set up, which is when you think about what I talked about earlier with the college stuff, another reason I wasn't quite ready for college.
Yeah.
After. So there was another reason that college did not really work out for me was because of that. But, I mean, they're still my mom and dad today. My friend, she's my sister. My kids know them as, my brother and sister, aunt, uncle, grandparents.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And I'm still, I work things out with my natural family as well. So, just
a big success story.
it,
right
you
here.
know, and that's the reason I wanted to give back and pay it forward. I
Yeah.
really wanted to be a foster parent. My husband, no, he's not quite on board, which is fine. No, it's an undertaking.
It's a lot.
To take on a kid and you don't know what kind of baggage you're getting with that kid. And then when I learned about the CASA program, which has actually been around since 72, 77. I did an Ignite Phoenix presentation on being a CASA, and I can't think of the date. But anyway, it was like in the 70s when CASA was created. I didn't learn about it until I became one. I read an article and I was like, what is this? I can do this. I want to do this. And it was just like instant. And I signed up, went through the training. There we go. Taking cases.
Husband's like, you're a who's or what now? What's happening?
Well, I told him, I said, I was like, well, if you don't want to become a foster parent, this is really calling to me. And I really want to give this a try. And it's going to be time consuming. It's going to be very emotional because I don't know, these kids are going through. I know what a lot of these kids are going to. Yeah. And I choose, what's nice is that, like I said, you can choose your case, and I choose cases with older kids. Mm-hmm. And that's intentional.
It makes sense, yeah.
Because I know that the older you get in the system, the more forgotten you are.
Yeah.
They want the little kids. They want the babies. And that's fine. It's totally fine. All of it is fine. To help any of these children in the foster system is a plus. But sometimes people forget that, as I said, they're products of their environment. Mm-hmm. The things I've seen, the reason that they're so aggressive or they're using drugs or they run away a lot is because of the situations they were in. Yeah. So being a CASA, I'm able to show them that they have a stable person in their corner, someone who's always there, even when caseworkers change, attorneys change, whatever in the system. I know I'm going on and on about this.
No, you're fine.
But you're the one stable thing, and that's kind of their little insight into that. Oh, someone will stand by me.
Yes,
and a lot of them don't even get that.
Working at that school, which I'll have to tell you the name of afterwards and see if you've ever done any work or had students from them. I'll bet you probably have.
Probably.
Because we are the biggest behavioral school in the state. I say we. After 3 years, I just stopped working there, so I'm still like associating myself.
Still feels like it.
Yeah,
You're part of it, yeah.
But working there with those kids, I've got stories that could peel the varnish off a locker.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen some shit. And on a daily basis to the point where it's completely normal. It's completely, like, whatever.
It's hard.
But our whole job was kid gets kicked out of school for X, Y, and Z, whether he's assaulting himself, somebody else, or whatever, or herself. And we get them and try to give them the necessary tools and coping mechanisms to reingratiate into the public school system.
Okay.
So level D facility, just kind of getting everyone just kind of back on their feet was the idea. Some kids are just there forever. But,
yeah.
So that's what I did. I did that for a long time. And it, you are the only. Well, here's the really sad thing, though, is that when you're at a school like that, when you work at a school like that, not getting paid a whole lot of money, the hours, you don't even get 40 hours a week unless you're pulling overtime like I was. Mm-hmm. These kids are going to grow a bond with you, and they're going to build a relationship with you, and then one day you're just not going to be there anymore.
Yeah.
That was one of the hardest things for me to do, was leave. And every single year, these kids grow and grow and grow and bond with you, and then you're just gone.
Yep.
It's like, oh, where's she at? Oh, we got another job. Like, what? But he was like,
and they
I
don't
saw him
understand.
5 days a week. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. And in a lot of these situations, these kids, because they don't have anyone, they are going to bond with you, and they're going to bond with you really fast.
Definitely.
And so that makes it even more devastating when you leave.
Yeah, I had a student once who, he was a lot like I was when I was in school. The things that I wanted to learn about, the things that made me excited, were not the things that we were doing in school. I had my own books that I brought to school with me every day, and I was always doing my own thing. I failed every single class. I was a high school dropout. Failed every single. I was in AP classes, but I was failing them because I just wasn't doing the work. I was capable.
Too smart for school, dude.
Yeah, stupid. So I was like, no, I don't want to do that. I'm reading this Henry Rollins novella. I'm going to read this, or this Kurt Vonnegut book. It's way more interesting than whatever you're teaching me. Turns out the shit they were teaching us was actually pretty cool. My history teacher was giving us excerpts from The People's History of the United States by Howard Zinn, which is like pretty fucking cool science history teacher. But I was way too busy being angsty and stuff. So this kid was a lot like that, obviously to an extreme level. I never had to get removed from my school, but... And he was really excited about pop culture and geek stuff and superheroes. And I would just sit with, because we would eat lunch with the kids and stuff. And he'd sit with me at lunch every day, and we would just talk about pop culture or whatever all the time. We would just go and go and go and talk and talk and talk. Yeah. And But the scary thing is about doing something like that, a lot of people aren't ready for, and I wasn't when I first started working there, is you forget that all of these kids are here for a reason.
Yeah.
So you'll have a good week with this kid, and you'll talk to him, and everything's cool, and you feel like you can trust him. Like, man, this is a really cool kid. Like, this is really great. And he does feel those feelings back for you at that time. Like, those are real. But just as real as those are the when his eyes go fucking black and it just snaps. Yeah. Like him throwing a fire extinguisher across the room at you is exactly the same person. Yeah. Like you have to be ready for that. So like people don't understand that this is really common. Like these kids are everywhere.
Yep. I mean, geez, there's 18,000 kids in foster care in Arizona.
Wow.
18,000. Yeah. And I mean, they need homes. They need, and we don't have enough foster families, to give them that permanent home. And the system is just bogged down. I mean, I could talk about this for days. I will not bore your listeners with talking about this for days. But
that's cool. I've never talked about working at the school really before. I've only mentioned it. That's the most I've ever said on the show. So I'm sure they're getting. Well,
it's because we have this connection. We're both working with those kinds of
kids.
They're
getting valuable content. They're fun.
But hey, if anybody is like so compelled by this conversation that they want to investigate being a CASA more, you can buy me a beer. I'll tell you all about it.
Focal. Meet me at Focal.
That's so funny.
I have all my business meetings.
That is my business place. You know what I feel like? I feel like some like mafia person like sitting in Focal and it's all dark and I'm like, next.
Oh, it's so funny.
I love Focal,
I have Michael coming on the show from 80/20.
Oh, Zimmerlich.
That's his name, right?
Yeah, Michael Zimmerlich. Yeah. Yes, awesome. Yeah, he's great.
We ran into each other at that meeting.
That's right.
He hit me up, and he's coming on the show.
I was just there last week, too, meeting with Amber, who plays keys for Decker.
Nice. Who I still haven't seen.
It's a nice central location. I mean, I live in Gilbert. There's nothing in Gilbert. Well, there is food in Gilbert, but everybody lives.
Isn't close to Gilbert.
It is if people live in but if people live on the other side of town, it's a nice and Tempe Marketplace. Those are my two places I like to meet people.
I'm a Gilbert kid. I went to high school in Gilbert.
I heard that on your podcast.
Yes,
I know Power Ranch. Damn.
Williamsfield. Yeah, I went to Williamsfield High School. I was the second class that was ever there. And I lived in Power Ranch. Then I moved to Queen Creek.
Well, there's nothing there. There's definitely no music scene.
No, what's interesting though is Gilbert has produced some interesting punk bands.
Really,
specifically. So Line Cutters are from Gilbert. They're Williamsfield kids.
Okay.
And Kill Your TV is also from Gilbert.
Oh, Kill Your TV. Okay, I know them.
Almost I'm 90% sure they're from Gilbert.
I think so. I think I follow them on Instagram, so I think
sure
they're from
Gilbert kids too. Yeah.
I think they hit me up once.
We were from.
I forgot about it.
Chandler, Gilbert. Well, they're broken up now.
So it doesn't matter. So scratch that.
Yeah, fuck them. I was gonna have them on the show too.
That's the thing. So many bands just get together, and you're like, okay, are we gonna stick around? You're so good, and then, and you think there's this
awesome
potential, but then life gets in the way, or something gets in the way, or a fight gets in the way, and it's done.
I'm excited. I'm excited to announce that and I haven't said this on the show yet. The first local band I ever got into, who I didn't even know they were local. I didn't find out about them because they were local. I found out about them just looking up. I was just trying to find new music. So I just did a Google search and I found them. So back in 2010, I got into this band. 8 years later, Calabrese is coming on the podcast.
Nice.
And I am so excited because Calabrese were one of my favorite bands for such a long time. And then I didn't even find out they were local until months and months later. And I freaked out even more. I've never seen them live or anything like that.
Oh, that's cool.
But I love them. So
I geek out.
Coming over.
I am a fangirl. This is why. This is what keeps me going. You're a fangirl.
Oh, totally.
I mean, seriously, all of these local bands that I love, or I have them on the show, it's like I just sit there and I'm just like, oh my God, you're in my studio,
same.
And I listen to your music, and you're amazing, and they're like, please, and
having Mo was another great example of that. She's like,
the fact that she wanted to have lunch with me just made me like, I was just like, really, you want to hang with me? It's like I'm in the popular group, What?
I know, it happens to me too.
Oh my God.
After I had Takeover and Destroy on the show, who are like really good friends of mine now. Like that episode was the first time we ever met, and we just all fell in love with each other, and ever since have been hanging out. Like that was literally. There's a few episodes. There's actually a lot of episodes like that where you're listening to me and another person become good friends. Like that's the moment. Like I have an audio recording of me becoming friends with this person who I still talk to afterwards. It's happened a lot on the show.
I love it.
But they were one of them, and I remember a couple weeks after our episode, they're like, "Hey man, we're gonna go to Charlie's. You want to come with us?" And for those who don't know, Charlie's is a gay country western bar. And I was like, "Do I want to go to a gay country western bar with like one of my favorite bands?"
The answer is yes.
Absolutely. Like it was so crazy. I love when stuff like that happens.
Yeah,
like,
it's cool. I remember it was, oh my gosh, it was like 2016. And one of my favorite, I mean, it's hard for me to say who my favorite local bands are. I mean, they're all kind of my favorites in different ways. And I like a wide variety of music. Yeah. So it's hard for me. Like whenever I see people post your favorite band right now in the Valley, and I'm just like,
that's also kind of shitty.
You know, I'm not going to do that. And with what I do, being in radio, I'm not going to do that. But I do have some like favorites, and that's fine. So one of them is Congos. Yeah. Love Congos. And their last album that came out a couple of years ago, they did a private release party at Lost Leaf, and Beef had called me and he's like I can't make it because he was going down to the Roger Klein thing in Mexico that he does every year, Circus Mexicus.
Oh, I'm trying to get him on the show too.
And Roger Klein, you can get him.
I talked to his publicist.
Good.
His publicist said he's interested, and then they went on tour, so I haven't been able to get a hold of him. But yeah.
Well, they're gonna be back for Oktoberfest at the end of September.
Yeah,
so make it happen,
it'll
dude.
Happen.
It'll happen.
Now that I've said it publicly,
there you go. It's out there now. I said it.
Yeah,
it'll happen.
It'll happen. We'll have
because I'm that good.
We'll talk about Banditos and all kinds of
stuff. So Beef was like, Dani, can you go to this Congos thing? It's going to be like a little listening party at Lost Leaf, and you all know Lost Leaf. It's very small. And I was like, yeah, sure, I'll go represent KWSS. It's all good. And I walk in and everything, and it's set up like there's going to be a live little performance. And I'm like, holy shit, this is great. You're in a house. It's basically a house party, right? Yeah. Well, Lost Leaf is where they got their start, playing shows at Lost Leaf. So it was very important to them. So then all of a sudden I'm looking around and Congos are just walking around Lost Leaf. They're not even performing yet. They're just, and at this point they've made it. Yeah. They're getting regular play. They're getting movie preview play. They're big, and one of them recognized me and said hello.
That's awesome.
And I was like, I'm like, and I'm like, oh my God. So the whole fangirl thing, I love feeling it, and I just try to not sound like an idiot because.
It's important. It helps. That's what the show is about. Like it's about me being excited about stuff.
But then I still want to not be an idiot.
Of course.
Just, I want to form sentences.
Yeah. That's why the Bear Ghost episode is funny because
I love them too. Oh, those boys.
That was a real starstruck moment for me because I was a huge fan of theirs for long before I did the podcast. Yeah. And, having them just standing in my kitchen before the show was so weird and fun and
I have people come over. I mean, my studio's at home, so I have fans come over, and I'm just like, what?
And that's one of the best examples of you can actually hear me fangirling in the episode. Like for instance, they'll start talking about when we were writing this song, and they'd mention the song, and then I'd be like, bow, start
singing,
and we all start laughing and having a good time. But I'm literally just in it. Like, this is so fucking cool. Please tell me everything. I love this band.
I love it,
and they're phenomenal people.
They're so much fun. Yeah, they really are. I mean,
and they talk shit on that episode about how they were the first people to win the Pladio Award. And I think that's what they said. They were the first ones to win the award where you get to do the morning show or whatever.
Oh, that's cool.
That's why they did they had the morning sickness.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Fairy Bones did that too, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. And he had Ryan had some gripe about that, but I don't remember what it was. I just remember him just being like, I don't fucking care who listens to this. This is bullshit because this and that. He starts railing against KUPD or whatever.
Oh man.
Yeah, they're funny, man. They're really good dudes. Tom is adorable.
Yeah,
they're great.
They're a lot of fun.
I love being able to hang out with people and Robbie was another one. Having
Yeah.
Robbie in here was like, dude, I can't like get. I never even got a hold of him. I got lucky. I messaged him months before that podcast, and he never responded to me. Justin from Celebration Guns pulled him into the show. That's the only reason I got him, and it was a really good time. And I hit him up again since, but he didn't answer. So whatever.
Well,
Busy
forget
guy.
him then.
Busy guy.
You know, whatever.
Yeah, busy guy. That's what I'm gonna keep telling myself every night when I go to sleep.
There you go.
So now. There's so much. There's
I
just,
know.
There's just so much to talk about. There's so much to talk
That's
about.
okay. What's the record? You know, I mean, what, 2.5 hours? We can go. We're going 3. Damn it!
Yeah, right.
We're doing it.
Now, I don't know who Alt J is.
You don't know Alt J?
No, I don't.
Oh my God.
Or the Soft White 60s.
Okay. So Alt J's been around a while. They're an alt band.
Okay.
I'm trying to think how to describe their music because it's not like straight up alternative rock. It's got a little bit of a, I don't know. I don't want to say it's like psych rock because it's not really like psych rock. I don't know. Comment on this when you guys are listening.
Like Psychedelephants? Kind of like psych pop rock
yeah,
thing, kind of.
but I don't know. You got to listen.
I'll
Look them
find
up.
it.
Look them
I'll
up and
find it.
listen. Breeze Blocks is my favorite track by them.
All right.
And yeah. But anyway, they've been around a while.
Oh, wait.
And-
They're an English band.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought they were like a local band or something like that.
Oh, no. I know. I was wondering when I answered that question for you when you're like, so tell me 5 bands. And I was like, does he want all local or because I like many bands?
No, it's cool. It's cool. No,
But I can talk.
No, that really meant, sorry. By that, I did mean just in general.
Okay,
whatever.
good. So what's funny is they've been around for a while and we play them on the station pretty regularly, lots of their singles. What's nice about what we do is instead of playing the same tracks by the same band every couple of hours, we play different tracks by the same band every couple of hours, which is good because we can play a lot of the things that, a lot of B-sides, a lot of things that are not, the single.
Yes.
So it's very cool. So, I've been listening to them obviously for a while through KWSS. And finally I was like, I need to hear more from them. And this just happened in the past week, seriously. Mm-hmm. I looked them up on Spotify. I hit shuffle and I started listening and I love them. They are like my new mainstream favorite band right now. Like
That's
right
awesome.
now, they're amazing. So definitely
That's amazing.
listen to them.
I will for sure.
One of their songs is used actually in Civil War.
Civil War.
The Marvel movie.
The Marvel movie?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. It's playing in the background when Tony goes to get Spider-Man.
I haven't seen it.
Oh, what?
Nah, I'm not interested.
What? I thought you said you like Marvel and shit.
No, I know about it. I know a lot about. No, I'm really okay. So here's the thing. So the truth comes out. I am a real hipster piece of garbage when it comes to comic books. I am the worst. Like, you might as well just give me loafers and a scarf. I am as fucking hipster as it gets. I read indie comics and weird.
You even have a
wall
hipster
shit.
douchebag look to you right now as you're talking about it.
Well, that was the point. But yeah, I have a lot of books by Avatar Publishing and Image.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a big 2 DC Marvel guy.
All right.
I like
Fair
a
enough.
lot of the indie stuff.
Fair enough.
Some of that's just really popular. Alan Moore's stuff is really popular.
See, what's funny is I'm not a comic book person. Like, I don't read comic books, but I love the movies.
Yeah, see,
That's how I
I'm a
am.
reader. I'm a real
I'm just
big
like,
comic book reader.
Yeah, I'm like, it's like also like I'm not like for instance, like Star Trek. Like everybody loves Star Trek and they're Trekkies and this and that. I don't like the old Star Trek. I like the new movies.
The movies are great.
I love the new movies, but I'm not going to watch the 1966 episodes.
It's boring.
I don't care. So anyway, it plays in that movie, but I fucking love them right now. So they're really great. Soft White 60s is another independent band. They're out of LA, and they have a Hispanic. I want to say not, lean to their music sound thing. Not well.
Latin flavor.
There's some Latin flavor to it. They do a lot of their songs both in English and Spanish.
Very cool.
And they have a good and they still rock at the same time. So actually, they're coming back to the Valley. They've been to the Valley several times. Beef actually introduced them to our station, introduced our listeners to them, and yeah, so I really love them. They have a really good sound to them. So, and totally different from Alt J, which I mean, I'm just like I said, I'm all over the place with my music.
I spent like an hour listening to Oingo Boingo today. They're one of my favorites. I listen to so much Oingo Boingo.
So I do a retro hour on KWSS as well. So I do the morning show, and then I come back at noon, from noon to 1, and I do like it's called Dani's Diner.
Nice.
And I play songs from the 70s, 80s, and some early 90s, but Oingo Boingo comes up a lot.
Yeah, I bet they do. They're great. They are
really
one of those bands who has some really solid deep cuts too. Like I mean, Dead Man's Party is great, Weird Science is great, but there's even songs of theirs that were singles at the time, but they don't really aren't remembered that much. Like Stay is a really good example of that. Like that was a solid hit song. It's got a music video and stuff, but it just didn't really stick around like the other ones did. And that's a phenomenal song. No One Lives Forever is another fucking classic.
Nice.
From
I
Dead
love
Man's Party.
this. I could geek out on 80s music forever.
I know that because you have you mentioned Duran Duran. Now I'm gonna hold on before we even get started with the whole Duran Duran.
Oh Lord.
So before we even get started on the whole Duran Duran thing, I'm gonna start this piece of the conversation off by saying that Duran Duran, is the band themselves the ones who are recording the music and performing the music?
Yes.
Okay. Easily some of the most underrated musicians ever.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So true.
Did you look them up like 5 minutes before I got here?
No. I have Rio on vinyl. Like I like Duran Duran quite a bit.
You're my favorite person right now.
Especially as a bass player. No one talks about the bass playing on Duran Duran, especially even the song
John
Rio
Taylor,
itself
man.
is such a great. It's so good.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and not all of it. Some of it is really complex, but even some of the stuff that isn't complex, it's just well written. Like the little, the bridge part in Rio.
I don't even have to geek out about it. You're doing it.
Like it's just so it's just good.
Yes,
they were fucking great. I don't know a lot of their music. I really just know everything off of Rio.
Well, Rio is one of their best albums.
What's
seriously.
the one with Girls on Film?
That's their self-titled.
Is that
Duran
self-titled?
Duran, yeah.
And then they have another one that's like, is it Snakes something or Serpent something?
It's Seven and the Ragged Tiger.
Yeah, Ragged Tiger. Seven. I don't know where the fuck I got Snakes from, but yeah.
Well, they have a song called Union of the Snake.
Oh, okay.
So you might be thinking of the song. See,
but yeah, no, I do.
I love it.
Self-titled a lot, and I love it. But yeah, dude, Rio is just such a phenomenal album, and
yeah. It is. It's one of their best, and their self-titled, of course, that's their debut album, and that's really a good one.
So it's weird. I got into Duran Duran. I think it was just, I don't remember what happened, but I remember every once in a while there's a song that's extremely overplayed and it's all over the place, and
it happens.
And you get annoyed by it. But every once in a while, you actually get to listen to it for what it is, and for some reason that day you're not annoyed by the fact that you've heard this 1,000 times.
Yes.
That happened to me with Bruno Mars. I never liked Bruno Mars, but one day I woke up, and I used to wake up to my alarm radio, and I was just laying in bed because I don't get out of bed. I'm really hard. It's really hard for me to get out of bed, so I just sit in bed. And
I would too if I didn't have a radio show to do.
So I just it takes me like an hour to really push myself out of bed. So I was laying there. And a Bruno Mars song came off of his first record. I think it was Grenade or Just the Way You Are. One of those two real big songs. And I was just tired enough to not care and lazy enough to not want to change it. And I was sitting there, so I was like, all right, well, I might as well just immerse myself in this song because it's here. And I listened to it, and I bought the album after that. And I was like, and I loved it ever since.
Yeah.
Duran Duran's a great example of that. I was driving around one night, and I heard Hungry Like the Wolf.
And that's one of the most overplayed songs
of
ever.
all time.
Yeah.
But I really listened to it for what it was. I really deconstructed it and listened to it as if I'd never heard it before.
Yeah.
And it's so good.
Yeah.
That song is phenomenal. And I was like, okay, well, now I'm done with this part. So I got into more and more of it. And what's that? My favorite song. I can't remember the name of it. My favorite song off of Rio is Lonely in Your Nightmare or something like that.
It is called Lonely.
It's called Lonely in Your Nightmare, right?
Yeah.
Oh my god, that song
that's a good one too.
Such a kind of eerie chorus.
Yeah,
that's so good. I love Duran.
And there's another one. The Chauffeur is my favorite one.
Okay.
And that one is that one is actually it just came up in a history moment. So during my diner hour, I do a moment in music history.
Oh, okay.
And I just find something that happened on that day or whatever and play a song from it. And it was something about, it was Duran Duran Day. There's a Duran Duran Day. It's August the 10th. I sound so ridiculous. I'm not even going to be able to listen to this later. I'm going to be like, oh my God.
Good.
But so there's a Duran Duran Day. And so I always throw in some extra Duran Duran on that day, which makes everybody laugh who knows my show, because usually there's a Duran Duran song every day. So I apologize to all of my listeners.
Duran Duran's fantastic.
But I was talking about that, and it's a really cool track. And the video is amazing too. So the video is like ahead of its time. Seriously, it's a really well done video. It's very artsy, and it was a poem that the lead singer Simon Le Bon wrote like 2 years before he joined the band. And it's just this poem, and they made it into this beautiful song. So, and bucket list thing. So I'm 46 years old, right?
Okay.
I loved Duran Duran when I was 6th grade. Had the posters all over my wall. Total girl thing. Simon Le Bon was my favorite, and it wasn't until 2 or 3 years ago they were here, and I finally got to see them.
They put out that last album in 2015.
Okay,
so it was
2015, 2016, whatever.
Yeah.
It was up in Glendale at the Glendale Stadium, and so I finally got to see them. I bought floor seats. I was like, I'm going all out, and they played that, which it was not on their set list, so they threw it in like to mix things up, and I was just like, okay, how do I get backstage with this band?
Yeah.
Seriously. So that was like total, complete fangirl moment. Though I did decide that floor seats are not always the best thing to get because I'm short.
Yeah.
And so you're on the floor. Everybody is also on the floor, and I'm short.
I think the first time I heard a Duran Duran song and got excited about it, I was a teenager and I saw Donnie Darko. And they have Notorious in there.
Yes.
And I was like, this song is really cool.
Seriously. Their range, it sounds like, people think of Duran Duran and they just think of like Hungry Like the Wolf or Rio or,
Reflex.
Reflex. Yeah. The poppy things. Mm-hmm. And if you just listen to them, their range is so much like broader and deeper.
Yeah.
Yeah. I absolutely love them.
Yeah. It's super good. When I got the vinyl, and that was the first time I had heard most of those songs. And that was when I heard Lonely in Your Nightmare, and they just like that chorus. Just
I know what I'm listening to on the drive
home. There you go. Yeah, man. Good. Really, really good stuff. There's a really interesting synth pop revival that's happening right now. It's been happening for the last couple of years, and I'm about it. They're really throwing in those warm 80s synths again. MGMT's new album is covered in them.
So good.
So phenomenal.
Yes.
I love the new MGMT.
Good stuff. We play some of theirs.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Even like, and you have some that are just straight up throwback to like synth funk. People like Chromeo and stuff like that. Just literally from the Zap playbook.
Yeah, it totally takes me back. And
skating rink music.
Our local bands, Paper Foxes come to mind. They had this great 80s vibe. Mm-hmm. There's another newer band out called Pretty Years that kind of has it's pop, but it's not so synth heavy. They're actually looking for a synth player. So they're only about a year old, but so they're still trying to get everything together and get some singles recorded and things like that. But they have a little 80s flavor to them too. You hear it every now and then, and you're like, oh, nice. So
dark 80s indie pop, I think is what their Facebook says.
Yeah. So it's cool. So I love the bands that will do that, because for me it's a throwback, and it takes me back to my roots. I grew up with the type of music when it was new. So
I'm so sorry. I just now liked the KWSS page. I didn't realize.
Fuck off, dude.
It's one of those things.
It's okay.
It's one of those things where that's happened to me before though. I've had someone on the show, and then like a month later they followed the page, and I was like, bruh, really? Like, not
I'm
only
pretty sure I have liked your page. I just want you to know that. That as soon as even before we met at FOCAL, I think I had already liked your page. I'm just saying.
Yeah, no,
and I know there's good content on that page because I do it.
Yeah, fun. It's fun, man. I really fell into the. I like posting stuff on Instagram.
Yeah.
I like interacting. I've been just doing as many Q&A things lately, asking questions, getting people's opinions on things so that I can talk about them. It's so much work,
though. People don't appreciate how much work it actually is to use social media to promote your business or your show or whatever.
And to work and to function within the algorithms that are in place.
It's a lot of work. It's not just like on your personal page where you're just like, oh, I'm having breakfast, or oh, fuck Trump. It's like you actually have to put thought behind it, and you have to have strategy.
Yes.
It's crazy. You even, down to like, what time am I going to post this?
Yeah, that's me. I
it's
always
crazy.
Post. If you go,
it's so much work.
If you go through every single post I've ever,
keep hitting the mic. I'm so bad at this.
If you go through every post I've ever, if there were timestamps on Instagram, every single one of them would be in between like 8 a.m. and 8:20. That's like usually when I post in the morning. I feel like that's when I get the most traffic. People are starting to wake up and. Everyone's just like doing their morning bathroom routine.
Yeah, and scrolling through. Yeah, so exactly.
I always hit them right around then.
And I have such a weird variety between the radio station and then with my clients for my business. I'm all over the place because there's different times. I have a lot of medical clients, and so they're more like 8 to 5ers where like I can post things later at night for the radio station and it gets picked up more because that's
I need
when
to jump
people
on
are
that.
out.
I need to take the late Sam DeCross's advice and rent out a spot and jump on KWSS sometime.
Yeah, you should.
That's what he told me. He's like, dude, you got to get a sponsor package together, but before you do that, you need to get on radio and you need to have some radio stats behind you.
Yes.
So
you're welcome anytime.
Thanks.
and another thing we do is we present a lot of local shows and a lot of local things. So either and we have different options for doing that. So like if you were putting something together, like you and I, the reason we met at FOCAL, that whole thing that you want to put together.
The festival. You can talk about it.
So the whole festival thing you want to put together, you get KWSS behind it and you get that extra promotion and stuff. And any show can do that. Right now we're promoting Sophie Dorston, who is she did a lot of stuff with Alice Cooper's School of Rock. And she came from kind of that set. She's 16 years old. She has got the most amazing voice. You would not think she's 16 years old, but she put an EP together, and they wanted KWSS to promote it. And the bands on it, we know them, and and we play them. So we're like, all right, let's do it. And it just gives you that extra push.
Yeah,
it really does. And even though we're low power and a non-commercial station, like to give you an idea, Alt AZ. Millions listen to them.
Yes.
And that's just because, we're talking, they're 100,000 watt station. They have the reach, the entire state, give or take some little pockets, but they are statewide. Easy. And then with the, with the app and everything, they're national, right? So millions. We are 3 watts.
Really?
3 watt low power FM stations. So what that means is we come in the general Phoenix area. So like here where your studio is, it'll come in, but it's going to be kind of fuzzy. When you go out more west, you like for instance, if you're on the 60 and you're going west and you hit the curve to go onto the 10, then it starts coming in, and then west, it'll come in. Glendale, Surprise, go north. Doesn't really come in Ahwatukee, but you can kind of go south. And there's little pockets. So we have a big range. Monthly, between 80 to 100,000 listeners a month. It's not millions.
That's a lot, though.
But it's still an impact, And I try to talk about, I'll talk to bands about this all the time. I'm like, it's great to get wherever you can put your music. I love Homegrown. I'm so grateful that she can do it. And we've talked about that before. You even talked about it with her on the show because I had mentioned it to you when we met at FOCAL, right? So, it takes a lot to get that 5-minute block at 11 o'clock at night. And I'm so grateful that she was able to get that through, and they're doing that because 11 o'clock at night, you're still getting plenty of listeners, and that's great. But we being 80 to 100,000 listeners a month, you're still reaching the right people.
Yes.
That's what it comes down to. You're reaching the right listeners, the loyal listeners, the ones who want to discover that new music and go to these shows. They're the ones that I see all the time out at shows, at several different shows, because they love these local bands. So, I definitely, Sam was right.
Yeah.
God, I miss him.
Man, I never got to meet him.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I know.
It's, we had some great plans.
I bet.
We had such plans, and it just, I'm going to start crying.
No, you're
So,
good. You're good. I've done. This is the
it's
second time now
just-
that he's come up on the show and someone almost started crying. That's happened with
Serious.
when I did Chelsea's
Well,
episode too.
that's
Makes
a
sense.
given.
Yeah,
Total
obviously.
given.
And I totally didn't mean to bring it up either.
No,
it was
but
one of those things. I asked her. I didn't mean to. I asked her something about her career and management, which obviously are related.
came
and I didn't
from-
think
yeah.
about it at first, and then I was
You
like,
know,
"Oh, damn!" It totally looks like I was fishing for that. And that's
no,
not what I meant.
and I'm sure she didn't take it
Because
that way. But
I've seen people. I talked to her about this too. I got so annoyed. People will do that though. They'll fish for you to talk about something tragic.
yeah, no.
Like I saw someone on her, and I saw someone on her Instagram. Like, what's the saddest thing that's ever happened to you or something?
Oh my god!
And it was like a couple months afterwards, and I was like,
this comment.
I was like, what the fuck? But she addressed it very like honestly and stuff. And I messaged her. I was like, yo, fuck that. They were totally just fishing for you to start talking.
That's just tasteless.
But she's so sweet. She was like, you think so? And I was like, yeah, I fucking think so. Of course that's what they were. Like, what an oddly timed thing to ask somebody anonymously online. Like, that sucks.
Yeah, that's terrible. And
So, yeah, that's not what I was trying to do. But, like,
no. But, I mean, it's a good workaround to talk about, why bands should promote their stuff on KWSS.
Yeah.
Hey, that's a good little segue there because it's important. And speaking of management, seriously, we do a lot of stuff with Mike at 8020 Records. And the only reason we do that, we don't play favorites. It's just that he hits us up. And the thing is that if you don't, I have so much going on and I get so much music every single day and I'm always listening to stuff and then I have all my own shit to do. I'm not always going to be able to reach out to you. And if I happen to come across like, oh, so-and-so is putting out a new track or, oh, I just saw somebody post that they're having a release show or whatever. If I remember or I'm in a place where I can do it right away, I'll hit you up and say, hey, let's talk. But for the most part, I'm not going to see it. And, you're not going to get, you have to hit me up. You have to hit us up. You have to be the proactive one. If you want that promotion, and
everyone has to be,
and you have
to be proactive no matter what if you're going to make it in any kind of.
And
anything.
It works. The thing is that it works. I remember very clearly last year because I'm on 11 years. So when I had my 10-year anniversary with KWSS, which I am the next to the station owner, I've been there the longest, which is crazy. Because I've made $100 in 10 years, but I had an anniversary show, and we ran the ad, we were running the spot, and then I was at McDowell Mountain Music Festival, and we had our tent out at McDowell Mountain, and everyone who came up to the tent was like looking forward to the show, and I'm like, what show? I wasn't even thinking that's what they were talking about. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's like, or they're like, happy anniversary, and I'm like, whoa, how'd you know? Because I'm not thinking about all the things happening on the station, right? I'm not thinking about the ad that's playing every hour, every other hour, but people hear it. And it works, seriously.
So is it going right now?
What?
The station? Is something playing?
Oh, yeah.
Right.
What time is it? It's 8:39. Yeah, there's music playing right now. Jonathan L. is coming up at 10.
Ah.
He's on Monday through Wednesday.
If only we were live.
At 10 o'clock.
We could jump right from here.
Well, every weekday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, 10 p.m.
Yeah, plug that. Let's get some plugs in. What
Jonathan L., he's a Valley icon. He worked for KDKB for a lot of years in the 80s, and now he lives overseas in like Germany or something. But he still does his show, and he's nationally syndicated. And
nice.
He's right here from the Valley. Which is great.
So what are your times? What shows do you have?
All right.
on your
So
show?
I have my morning show. So every weekday morning, 6 to 10 a.m. I'm on with that other lady on that other radio station at the same time, which is fine.
Oh.
You know what, though? We can't compete. We're talking millions to thousands. I mean, I don't even look at it like a competition. I just do my thing and have a good time. That's it. So anyway, weekdays, 6 to 10 a.m. And then I do the diner from noon until 1 every weekday.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
It's a lot of fun.
That's so cool.
I mean, if I wasn't getting anything out of it, I would not be doing it.
You wouldn't be a volunteer.
I mean, I'm a volunteer.
For a decade.
And it just really is fulfilling to be, from everything from the ego boost, because, I'm a social person and, I do get something from that. And my husband he doesn't go out. He doesn't like to go out and stuff. So we have that like balance between us. Like we'll do things together, but then he'll be like, I'll be like, I'm going to a show, and he's like, have fun,
Yeah.
because it's just not his thing, and that's it's fine. We've 25 years, we've made it work.
Yeah.
But so it's very fulfilling to me to get out there and to hear the amazing talent we have in this valley, and then to know that like I feel like I've helped in some way, to help, whether it's promote them or play their track. During my show, I do the 9:39 local spotlight. So even though we play local and I throw in local all morning and it's playing all day long, local music, I focus on a single artist every day, 9:39. Because 93.9.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Get it?
Yeah,
See what I did there?
got it.
Yeah. So, and that gives me a chance to plug if they have a show coming up or if it's a new track or whatever. But it's just so fulfilling to me to be able to help with the community and just know that it's there.
Yeah.
And I have it. It's
That's
like
so beautiful.
my big extended family.
That's amazing. I can't think of anywhere better to leave it than right there.
Perfect.
That was awesome.
It was
That was
beautiful.
a beautiful speech.
Seriously.
Appreciated it.
I think I see butterflies like flying around now.
It's great.
What was in this beer?
Yeah.
What'd you slip in this beer, dude?
Oh God, there's a Cosby joke in there somewhere. Just can't find
no.
it. It's in the pudding pop.
Oh.
All right. That wasn't actually a Bill Cosby impression, but after
That
I
was
did it,
terrible.
After I did it, it kind of sounded like one.
Okay, now I'm getting.
That's where we're gonna leave it.
Now I'm getting weirded out. Okay, where's the door?
All right, thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you, Dani, for coming over, and stay tuned for some shout outs. Get stoked. Patreon. Austin Carson, Every Show Joe, Bradley Palermo, Aubrey Hoffer, my mom, my grandma, Courtney Gallegos, Miguel Lopez, Tom Maxwell, Bryce Koppel for donating the lights, which we are finally fucking using for my Caliber TV videos on their YouTube channel, which aren't out yet, but will be out next week, ? It's gonna happen. So thank you for listening. Aw, shit, look at that. The episode's over, man. We're done. Episode is finished. Luckily, though, there are plenty of other older episodes hanging around the internet anywhere you'd like to find podcasts. iTunes, podcast apps like Stitcher or Podcast Addict for either the iPhone or the Android. My official Podbean website. I'm fucking everywhere, man. I'm building an empire. Let's take over the fucking world. Anyway, if you've made it this far, I truly appreciate you and encourage you to please reach out and say hello. I'm serious about this, guys. I really want to connect with my listeners. So whether you want to come on the show or not, drop me a line. Hit me an email at gettingstokedpodcast@gmail.com, or you can hit me up on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I think that's it, man. Thank you guys so much for listening. It really, I know I harp on it so much, but it really, truly means everything. So thank you. Get stoked.